Hello. Hello. Vidya, cholta Vidya. I've told him.
Hello.
Yeah, we
Hello.
can start the session.
Yeah, we can start the session. Krishan sir, can you start the session?
Sam,
But
Yeah.
can you start the intro?
Lakshmi, can you mute Sir Krishnan, sir? Unmute, sorry.
okay, I think very good afternoon, all of you. I think there is some technical glitch. That's perfectly fine. We will start off. So, if you just to start with, good number of you attended the previous session. So, to start with, let me and also a lot of you are asking for the uh, certificate from the institute. So, you'll be able to deliver or download your say certificate, e-certificate post 15th May. That is a communication from the institute, right, of the previous session and also for this session. Very good afternoon, all of you. So I'm Vidya Shankar here, right, founder, CEO of Only Success. So this particular session, what we'll be going through is the session on communication mastery. So communication mastery is about, I mean, multiple things, right? I mean, when you ask what exactly communication means, say how we connect with people, how we talk to people is what communication means, right? And it's not only that, it is also in many ways, right? It's not only talking to people, it's about say writing to people. Many set of things is what communication means. So if you uh, uh, go ahead check good number of times, say when I talk to you or you talk to me, right, I always ask, or what I have learned in my say business administration schools, right, because I predominantly this always, when you take communication, there are two parts to it. One is actually a sender and the other one is actually a receiver, right? And if you take sender and receiver, who must have to take the responsibility for the communication? If I ask you this question, maybe what I will request you to do is just, maybe you can go ahead and key in your answers, right? If I ask you, you all know this part, right? When you take communication, as it say, there is a communication happening between two people. There are actually two parts to it. One is a sender, other one is a receiver. And my question is, who must have to take the responsibility of communicating? That is the question, right? Because I see good number of you are keying in something about your address, all those things. It's not required. You will be able to take your certificate online at the university website. I mean, university website will provide you the certificate. So I see answers like sender. Good number of times we used to assume it is a sender who is responsible. Assume you are a teacher, right? You are in the class. And then who is responsible for the communication? Right? Because I've seen teachers, because we work with a lot of teachers, they say, oh, I am doing a very good job, but my students are not listening properly, right? Or I have also seen students who complaining always a lot of times, right? I mean, the challenge is, this challenge is what? Challenge is, I am fine, I'm sitting in the class, but it's too boring. I don't understand whenever this particular teacher talks. So these kind of complaints I keep seeing always whenever people come across to say this is actually the challenge. I'm not able to understand how my teacher speaks or how my students understand. Or there are also good number of times communication happens between a boss and a subordinate. What the boss thinks, I've told you very clearly, I've explained to you very clearly, but you have not understood. How come you keep doing the same mistake again and again, right? Or there are many times the subordinate thinks have completed the task on time, but what is the challenge, right? I mean, every time he's screaming at me, every time he thinks I'm not able to understand. Or how many of you face the same challenge, same problem at home, right? The communication between you and your spouse, or communication between you and your children, right? This is something always good number of times. I mean, it's a common thing, right? It's not just you, it's not just me, it's everybody. And I'm sure all of you will agree with me. If you work on your communication, if you improve on your communication, you will achieve a lot more in your life. Agreeing with me? Yes or no? Please use the chat window. Yes or no? Definitely yes, right? Because many times I've come across people having a little distortion when you say communication. They used to think, oh, public speaking. Oh, I don't need all those things, right? I don't have to, I'm not getting onto the stage talking to a lot of people. It's not something what I do, right? So many people tend to think communication means this. But let me clarify this. Communication means whenever you interact with anybody through any means, let it be in person, let it be in writing, let it be today the world has changed, let it be like how we are communicating right now. I'm communicating to hundreds of people online. I'm almost talking to over 1,000 people every day, right? I mean, post this, I'm having one more session where about 1,000 people are joining, right? Listening. And what happens is this good number of times when you go ahead check, we'll be learning what is called as the components of communication data. Today, right now, the components of communication for me right now are: one is visual. You are able to see me. You are able to hear me, right? Apart from it, there is nothing like I'm physically present in front of you. That's something missing, right? So let me ask you this. A lot of times people tend to think, assume communication is not for me, right? It's not for me. It's only for a specific set of people. You may have to get onto the stage. You may have to do something. Let me ask every one of you, learning how to communicate, is that something very, very important skill? Yes or no? Yes? Yeah. There is no doubts on it, right? I am asking a question where the answer is an obvious yes. And most interestingly, right, when I step up to talk to you, see, if you ask, almost for the past 15 years, I'm training people, I'm talking to people, right? Right now, I'm addressing over 400 people at this point of time, right? And post this, I'm addressing over 1,000 people. So in one single day, I'm actually addressing over 1,500 people right now, right? So in today's context, like this, almost for the past 20 days, we have various sessions. Maybe I'm addressing should have addressed over 10,000 people kind of thing, right? If you go ahead check, that is a background from which I'm actually coming. So if you ask me, what makes it difficult for people to communicate, tell me the reasons why good number of times people fail in their communication. Give me answers. Give me answers. Why good number of times people find it difficult to communicate? Due to barriers, hesitation, due to fear, inferiority complex, expression, right? They don't listen. Wonderful answers, right? Lot of reasons. Predominantly, it's fear, it's procrastination. I mean, feeling shy. I mean, you are not comfortable, or feeling self-confidence is very low. All these sort of things, right? Predominantly is because of this. And let me ask you: is there a possibility somebody can change it? Yes or no? Yes or no? Maybe by certain exposures, certain trainings. Can you alter it? Definitely yes. It is definitely possible. I mean, excelling or improving your communication is something very much possible. I started the session with one single question. In a communication, there are two people involved. One is the sender, other one is the receiver. If you take the sender, if you take the receiver, my question was, who is responsible for effectiveness of the communication? Who is responsible? Whom you think is responsible, right? Whom you think is responsible for the effectiveness of communication? When I was in my management school, I've been taught when there are two people involved, it is 50% the sender. That's what you see on the screen. Another 50% is the receiver. That's how you are being taught. That's how we believe. But when I went to my NLP class, because I come from the world of NLP or neuro-linguistic programming, I'm a certified NLP practitioner. Right? When I entered into my NLP classes, they told me something completely different. They said, no, this is not the case. These are all in your management classes, right? Your management books teaches this thought, which means what? 50% is sender, 50% is receiver, right? But let me teach you one thing. What do you want to be? Are you a sender or you a receiver? At this point of time, if I am a sender, I am responsible for the effectiveness of my communication 100%, right? Similar to that, hear to me very clearly. If you are the receiver, which you are right now, you are responsible 100% for the effectiveness of communication. Some of you may wonder, what is this? What can I do about it? Maybe this one is not okay, my audio is not that fine, or maybe there are some disturbances at home, whatever kind of challenges. But the question is this: is this thought useful or not useful? Because this helps you to come out of your excuses. If you think the other person is responsible, what happens? You don't have a control. Assume it is at home, husband and wife, right? Your wife thinks for everything only you are responsible. You didn't tell me this very clearly. I asked you that day itself. You never told me very clearly, right? You are doing something else. Or you tell her the same, or you tell your children the same. Whatever happens in school, you are not coming and telling me, right? That's why I'm not able to understand you. Instead, you check, you think, if I have to take the responsibility for this, if I have to become responsible for this communication, what will you do? You will go ahead, become flexible. You will ask your child, you will connect the rapport with your child. You will ask the child what really happened in the school. When the child feels so comfortable, they start sharing, right? Similar to that, assume you are a teacher, right? I'm going to tell you a short story, short study of a teacher, which I think is something very inspiring. Teacher by name Robert. I mean, this was a study done by Robert Merton. So what he did was this: it was a school where there are a set of children who are the worst set of children. Okay, the students were so bad, and the school has decided to send them out. And the school hired a teacher, and that teacher was supposed to be one of the best teachers. And then they told the teacher, you are going to meet the best set of students. In reality, who are they? They are the worst set of students. But the teacher has been told, you are going to meet the best set of students. This is something what they have been told, what the teacher has been told. So the teacher went into the class. What happened? The students were very unruly. They were arrogant. They were not listening to the teacher, right? And what the teacher thought, the students were actually very good. Maybe I'm not good in teaching them. I'm not good in handling them. So she went back, changed a lot of things in the way she was communicating with them. And then she came back the next day. She altered. So this became a continuous loop. And over a period of time, almost for the period of 6 months, she was continuously altering something in her to change the way she was communicating, to change the way she was talking to them. And what happened? At the end of 6 months, she was able to create really gifted set of students. The same students whom the school thought was completely not useful became the best set of students. Why? Because the teacher was keep on changing the way she was communicating, and the teacher took the 100% responsibility. Is this going to make a lot of difference in our life? Tell me yes or no. Yes or no? Is this thought of taking 100% responsibility for your communication, is it going to make a lot of difference for you? Yes or no? If you are a sender, who must be responsible for it? Right? If you are a receiver, who must be responsible for it? Yeah, wonderful. Many of you are typing, yes, I am. The first basic rule of communication is being responsible, is taking the responsibility. Taking the responsibility for your communication is the very first rule. Be it you talking to your students, be it you talking to your teacher, be it you talking to your spouse, to your children. Once, if you are responsible, then you are in control of your communication. Always understand this. Once you are responsible, you are always controlling the communication. That is something very, very important, right? And if you go ahead, check from this, one of the very basic rule, what we will understand, one of the very basic rule, what we will actually take it is this particular rule, right? What I call it as the meaning of the communication is the response you get. The meaning of the communication is the response you get. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? So if you want to communicate something, it is not what you have told. Am I clear? It is what the other person has understood. The meaning of your communication is not just what you have told. The meaning of your communication is the response what you get. If you're asking somebody to do it, are they doing it? Are they understanding what they are telling? That is what is real communication. That is what the true communication. Am I clear? This is the very, very important and first success principles what we are learning when it comes to communication, which changed my life personally. Right? Because till some point of time in my life, I always used to think the other person has not understood, but this particular success principle has made me realize that yes, the meaning of the communication is the response you get, right? And see, when it comes to communication, communication is not like, say, certain things which is deep inside you. There are certain things which are deep inside a human being. Like what? There are things like goals, things like beliefs, things like values, all are something which is so deep inside. But what is communication? Communication is not that, it is a skill, right? Communication is like one of these kind of things. It is like leadership skills. It is like human relationship skills. It is like memory skills. It is like one of these kind of skills, right? Is what communication is. And when it comes to improving the skill, how to improve the skill? Good number of times people have always asked me, say, how to improve my skills on communication, right? One is understanding the basics of it, understanding some of the very powerful success principles. Number one is what? Meaning of the communication is a yes, I'm looking forward in the chat window. Meaning of the communication is the response you get. One and wonderful is a response what you get from others. If you're talking to our children, it is not, oh, I asked you to study, they study. It's not that. They ask you to study, or they really doing it? That's what is the meaning. Are you getting it? Similar to that, you wanted to convey something to your boss. You have sent a mail, it has not been understood. Then what you can do? Maybe you may have to call him. If that has not been understood, what else you can do? You may have to put some presentations. Until the time you are flexible, you will be able to communicate what you want to communicate, right? So that is the most important thing. And like some of you said, if you need to improve on your communication skills, what you must do? What you must do? Exactly, it is practice. Why? Because if it is belief, we can change it, right? Intense experience changes beliefs. Yeah, a pandemic like this changes all our beliefs about human life, all our beliefs about life. But communication is not that. Communication is, as you said, it is like intense practice. Why it is like intense practice? I'll tell you what I've learned from a tower called as a Calgary Tower. There is a tower called as a Calgary Tower. If you take the Calgary Tower, this tower is in Canada. The total weight of the tower is about 10,884 tons. That's the total weight, right? And if you go ahead check, over 60%, 6,349 tons is below the ground. And what do you understand from this? 6,349 tons, which is over 60% is below the ground. What do you mean by this? Which means what you can't see is a big size, is a major size, and that is below the ground, right? So if you go ahead check what it conveys and what way this is related to communication, is this. In human life is very similar. In human life, if you check, like how I was telling, in human life, if you check, say, the personal excellence skills, things like goals, beliefs, values, identity, all those things are something what you can't see, and it is something which is below the ground, and that is over 60%, right? That is over 60%. And if you go ahead check set of skills, what you can see from outside, it is much lesser. But unless otherwise your personal excellence areas are much stronger and it is more powerful, you can't improve on these skills. Because if you ask me, when I was able to work on my communication skills far better than whatever I was, is the moment when my identity changed. If you check your personal excellence, one of the things is identity. The moment I got an identity of a trainer, I became a trainer. Trainer means what? You should know how to express yourself. The moment I became an author, the moment I've authored about 7 to 8 books, audio lessons, which means you can express yourself. People can actually learn from it. That's when my identity shifted. So that helps your communication skills. And if you need to keep improving, the most important thing is what? As you rightly said, because it is a skill you have to practice. It is no different from singing. It is no different from dancing. It is no different from playing a musical instrument. It is the same. As you practice, you become better and better, right? And always there is a saying, if you don't practice, the musician knows, right? If they don't practice just for a day, the musician knows it. If they don't practice for a week, then only the audience knows it. Communication is that. So as you practice more, you become better and better in your skills, right? That is something very, very important. So the skills, what you need is something which you must have to learn how to practice, right? As you spend more and more time practicing, you become better and better. That is the beauty of communication. And the most important thing is what? You should be able to grab an opportunity whenever you get. I mean, this is in the context of public speaking. Apart from it, whenever you are doing a private communication, the most important thing which will change your life is the responsibility what you take, right? So meaning of the communication is the can you all key in, is the response you get. Exactly. That is the first and most powerful success principle or key learning I leave you with. Right? If any of you think, oh, somebody else have to change the communication, you have not learned at this point of time the very important thing, right? So the meaning of the communication is a response you get. So that is the most important success principle. And number two is this: communication is a skill. So there are two parts to it. One is your identity and your belief. Will you be able to do it or not? That has a big role. Number two is this. Number two is your skill. So which means you need to keep practicing. You need to keep practicing to become better than that. Right? So this is the second thought, the most important thought. And the second thought is this: practice makes it really better, but you must have to believe it is possible. You must have to have an identity. Why a teacher is expected to talk? Because you are a teacher, right? A teacher is expected to talk because you are a teacher. A trainer is expected to talk because I am a trainer, right? And if you go ahead, Sheikh, I will ask you this. The very important part, third phase of this entire session, the important phase of this session, with which I'll be calling it as a session, is this: where when I ask you what is most important part of the communication, if you need to communicate well, what is very important? What is very important? Yeah, listen, clarity. I mean, the key is language. Oh, I see some body language. Wonderful. I mean, what we call it as the components of communication, right? I will tell you something interesting. So it is a story of it is a short story about a cat. Okay, shall I share with you? Okay. So there was a boss who was running a business, right? And what happened was this: he decided to go out on a tour, right? And so he called his subordinate. He told him, I'm going to go on a tour. So the next week, I'm not here. So during this time, some of you wonder, wow, tour sounds so wonderful at this point of time, right? When you cannot even step out of your house. So when he was out to go on a tour, he called his subordinate to say, I'm not here for the next 1 week, during which time you take care of the business. If there is something very important, you communicate to me. Then the subordinate said, yes, boss, I will take care of it, not an issue, right? And the boss is always very cautious. So he called him again. He said, assume this. Assume it is very urgent, you communicate to me, otherwise you manage it, because the boss is a heart patient, right? He told him, I am a heart patient. So assume this, assume our cat is dead, because the boss had a cat and he loves it a lot. Assume our cat is dead. You just don't call me on the phone and say, boss, cat is dead. Then what will happen? I can't take it. Something will happen to me. right? This is what the boss said. So he explained to him very clearly, if the cat is dead, you do this. You message me first, and not just straight one message telling boss cat is dead. I can't take it. Instead, what I should say, you message telling boss, our cat is now climbing on the roof. That is the first message. Second message can say what? Boss, our cat is standing on the roof, right? And the third message, boss, the cat has lost balance. And the fourth message is what? Boss, our cat has fallen down and then it is dead. You tell me this, I am perfectly fine, right? This is what the boss told. And then he asked him very clearly, have you understood? And the subordinate said, yes, boss, I very clearly understood. I will manage it. You don't worry. I know how to manage the business, right? And then the boss is out on a tour, right? And after 3 days, he gets a message. And what the message says, boss, your grandmother is climbing on the roof. Have you understood? Right? So if you go ahead, check what you wanted to convey and what has been conveyed is something completely different. And why? Why is it so? Because of what? Because of what? Because when it comes to components of communication, like, yes, poor communication, right? Components of communication are very different. I will share with you this. I have learned it as a very powerful principle of communication. The components of communication is all these set of things. Number one is, like some of you has already told me, it is about your body language. Okay, I'll ask this question and then I'll show you the slide, right? It's about body language. Is it very, very important? How many of you feel body language very important, right? How you use your body, very, very important, right? I mean, even now, only when you see me, you get a bigger connect, you get a better connect, right? Assume I'm not connecting with you, I'm talking to all of you on the phone. How will you feel, right? It's completely different, correct? So body language, very, very important. Number two is what? What do you think is the second most important? Just guess. Second most important. Clarity, tone, voice, fluency, eye contact. Exactly. Language. Second most important, some of you have put it as well. I mean, facial expression, eye contact, all those things comes under body language, right? How you use your body, your facial expression is your body language. Say, for example, when I talk to you like this, there is a difference. When I talk to you like this, there is a difference, right? If I'm able to bring some facial expression with a content, that makes a lot of difference, right? And body language includes all those things. How you use your body, how you use your face, all those things. And the second part, like some of you said, it is the tone of voice. Tone of voice is the most important. And much later, I have actually understood the other one, which is actually what? Tone of voice is very, very important. And the third one is what? Like good number of you said, it may be language, it may be words, it may be, and interestingly, when it comes to creating the impact, it is in the same order. What creates a maximum impact is your body language. What creates a second maximum impact is your voice, like good number of you have typed the voice modulation. And the third number is actually the words. And interestingly, there is a percentage, right? And I was stunned to know when I went for my communication training, say some of the world best people, part of NLP sessions, when I went for my communication training, what I have understood is just body language is I'm going to share with you a percentage, a super secret one. Just guess, body language, when it comes to the impact, what it creates, what is that percentage impact? How much percentage you will give it for it? Or some of you said 60, 30, 10. Some more answers, body language, tone of voice, and your words or language, whatever. Body language, 80%. How about the remaining two? Body language is yes. Body language. Okay, first I will take body language and how much is tone of voice. With that, I'm done. Balance goes to the words. Body language, 80%. I think I've done a lot of frame up for it. 40, 20, 20, 90. Some of it like, oh, you are a good number of you are close to it, right? It is actually this. If you take the impact, body language or physiology is 55%. I cut the video, talk to you, you will feel how it is, right? I mean, that's why I'm only in remotely I'm talking to you. When I'm in person, it has its own difference, right? Or number two is this: 38% is tone of voice, how you use your tone, right? When I say how you feel, and then you say, oh, I feel fine, and I feel very fine, it makes a lot of difference. And the last 7% is words. Okay, so this is the breakup of the various components of communication. So you must have to ensure if you are practicing yourself, all these components are very, very important. With this, I will leave with you the third and most important part of the success principle, which is actually there are no resistant people, only inflexible communicators. Or there is nothing like somebody who is resistant. The most important, somebody who is resistant, there are only inflexible communicators. If you are communicating, you are the one who has to change. That creates all the difference for you. So there are two things, three learnings out of this session before I call it as a session. Number one is this. What is the first one? Meaning of the communication is a wonderful, is a response you get, right? And communication is a skill. So you improve by practicing a lot. You must have to keep practicing. That is the only way to improve your communication, right? That is the only way you can actually become better on your communication. Practice makes communication. Always remember, if you ask me if I can improve on my communication, only way is I'm just doing it for the past 15, 20 years, right? I'm just talking to people, training people, talking to people. I mean, that's what I do, right? And if you go ahead, check the third part, what you have learned is this: the components of communication. What are all the components of communication? Number one is your body language. Good. First is your body language. Body language includes your facial expression, muscular tension, all those things, right? Whatever way you use your body, everything. Number two is this. Number two is your tone of voice. Wonderful. Tone of voice. Number three is your words, language, all those things. But interestingly, people understand this in reverse order. That's why many people have a lot of fear. You know one thing, because maybe communication in our context, in Indian context, means speaking in English, unfortunately. So many people think, oh, because my language is not good, so that's why I can't communicate, right? So though that is just 7%, right? So let me ask you, how much importance or impact the body language creates? Great. Wonderful. It's 55%. And how much impact your tone of voice creates? You all will pass. Okay. Wonderful. 38%. And how much impact your words create? Some of you are already ready with your answers. Good. It's 7%. 55% is the body language, 38% is the tone of voice, and 7% is the words. That's what makes the communication. And the last and most important success principle is this: there are no resistant people, only
Inflexible communicator.
inflexible communicators. I will repeat it again. There are no resistant people, only inflexible communicators. There are nobody like, these are all the people who are resistant. There are only inflexible communicators. There are no resistant people, only inflexible communicators. Right? So with this, I'll call this as a session. So we will also upload both the leadership mastery and the communication mastery video in the university website. And good number of you were actually asking about your certificate. There are a lot of messages in between. Let me clarify it again. The certificate will be available in the university website. I'll just put that particular slide again. This was a communication from the university. Sorry about it. So this was a communication from the university. So the university has communicated very clearly. The certificates will be available to you for both these sessions post 15th of May, both the leadership and the communication mastery session in the university website itself. So you will be able to download your certificate. So be a powerful communicator. So let me summarize all the thoughts, whatever we had. Number one is this. The first and foremost is this. What is the first one? The meaning of the communication is the response you get. So when it comes to communication, it's all about practice, how well you practice. That's what exactly communication means. And the components of communication, 55% body language, 38% tone of voice, 7% of the words. And the most important one is there are no resistant people. There is nobody in this world who is resistant. There are only inflexible communicators, right? So at this point of time, I take this wonderful opportunity for giving this platform to us to conduct these two programs to the university, to Anamala University, and also to Dr. Krishnan, who is there through this entire session, was communicating with us, were enabling us to deliver this program. So thanks a lot. I also thank Lakshmi Narayanan. I also thank Sampath, who are from Only Success and also part of this program. Thanks a lot. Thanks all of you.
I'm Krishnan. Thank you very much from Annamalai University side. Thank you very much, Vidya Shankar. And thanks the teams of Only Success.
Thank you. Thank you each and every one of you. Thanks. Thanks a lot.